So we have the head office or headquarters in Järfälla, where we have the two factories. And we start in 2001. We grew through Finnish and Danish customer that we attract, and then to the rest of the Europe. And when we established the office in Boston, we get the East Coast customer, and then when we moved over to Silicon Valley, we get also increased amount of customers from the West Coast. And then we have agents, sales agents representing us in Israel. And once we get the first customer there, we get more and more. So that's one of the lessons we have learned, that you could, once you have entered a new market and you get a reputation and the customer is satisfied with you, they tell their neighbors or they tell their friends and spin on that one. And as I said, we are a technology leader, so we are focused on a lot of engineering stuff, developing new devices or new processes that we put into to improve the qualification and then put it into high volume manufacturing. So typically, since it's very small devices, quite a lot of the application, they need some 10,000 or 100,000 devices. That's what we could do on one wafer. So roughly 49 or 50 programs are just development and doing innovation and very, very small pilot production. And then there are some booming devices that are entering into consumables that really needs really high volume. And Silex is trying to match both of them. So we have 24/7 operating manufacturing for serving the high volume manufacturing, but in the same factory we are also doing development that play with the innovation game. So the MEMS, it's less like Intel and more like linear technology and analog manufacturing. So every product is one process, more or less to say. So that makes it a little bit challenging compared to other electronics in working with the digital. So to summarize for what Silex looks for the future is that we have built a strong business, and we are lowering the cost to enter into MEMS. So we are attracting more application that previously has been fabricated with other technology, but now see the cost advantages of using MEMS. And we support both prototyping or development and high volume. And we have a huge library of working with more than 100 customers and 300 different MEMS products over this last 12 years. So we have a huge library of processes that we could play around to make new devices. And we have the two fabs. And we are quite proud that we are ranked as the #1 pure play MEMS foundry in the world for the second year in a row. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Sounds like you started off directly jumping into the US market with the first customer and then grow back,
yes.
close by. Okay, next panel member is Leah Bytes, I think it's the right.
Yeah, well done.
And I've talked to your colleagues, and I think they call you Megabyte.
Megabytes, well, usually thank you. It used to be at the time where megabytes actually meant something.
Yeah, okay.
There's been exactly, there's a certain inflation. So, hi guys, hi everyone.
Okay, you're going to introduce yourself, and I just...
Oh yeah, you can do it.
I just told that. Not short of time. Leah works for Northzone, which is a venture capital firm, pan-Nordic firm. Actually one of the few left and one of the few actively investing, and one of the investors in Silex, the early investors in Silex as well. And before you became a venture capitalist, you worked as both an entrepreneur and a banker. So let's see what you have to say.
Both are calling against me.
give it, go ahead, please.
Yeah, somebody told me that the #1 public enemy in the world right now is being a banker. Anyway, so go global or go home, this is what I'm going to talk about, and this is the moment you're allowed to go home. So let me see if I can figure this out. You know, what are the actual new expansion channels that have come up, and do they actually apply to all of these different kinds of businesses? So before we talk about any of this, before I'm going to share any tools or how you can do this, how you can go global, how you can capture a wide audience, there is one cardinal rule. Because if you don't get this right, none of it will work. You can have the best hackers in the world, it's all going to be wasted effort. The #1 is make sure you have a beautiful product. So before that, and half the sale will already be done. But if you don't get this right, none of the other things will work. So yeah, you have an awesome product. Now what? What do you do? Do you stay home? Do you go global? Do you go to Europe? Do you go to Spain? Germany? What is it? Your customers can literally be anywhere. And how do you reach them? And in certain industries, you know, it's still very hard, but it used to be much harder. You needed to go to set up your offices, your sales force, get people calling, have physical presence. And in some cases, you know, for some businesses, it's still very true. But there are new tools that have come that make it much easier and much cheaper to make the world your oyster. I apologize for this. To make the world your oyster. So instead of thinking of your customers in terms of demographics and geographics, like, oh, I want to reach 25 to 35-year-olds living in cities less than 250,000, people 20 years ago started to think more about psychographics. You know, what kind of individual will connect to my brand? Because they could be all across ages. But now, more recently, the focus has become on sociographics. So using a social graph, because you are much more likely, your friends are much more likely to listen to you than a random person, not for all topics, but for most topics. And they're much more likely to be like you and share similar interests. So again, all of this is in order to get momentum, to get customers. A colleague of mine told me today, yeah, I haven't, he actually, this is a homage to him, he said, I haven't yet come across a problem that isn't solved with a new big client account coming in. So it's all about getting momentum, it's all about getting your customers. And you hear all these fantastic new stories, and you have Twitter, and you have Facebook, and you have Pinterest, and God knows what the next thing is. And all of this has the same basic idea, is reaching your customers, getting that momentum, getting that growth. So you may have heard that, you know, there are numerous success stories by using these different channels. One of the most prominent ones globally right now is Fab.com. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's online sales of furniture. They made it super exciting. They had 50,000 customers before they had even launched their site. 9 months in, they have 3 million customers. People are waiting in line. Or take a local example like iZettle. They started very humbly. They made a little video. The 2 founders put it each on their homepage, put it on YouTube. A week later, they had 10,000 views. Potential customers, maybe. So what are these tools that can help you go global or actually go viral? And virality is a word that people like to throw around, and everybody says, "Oh yes, we need to go viral." It's incredibly hard to do, and you have very rarely control of what will go viral or not. But there are different tactics in sort of what the cool kids are using these days when it comes to virality. And this is how I like to think about it. And this is no industry sort of nomenclature. I completely made this up. So you have inherent virality, and this is, I think, the most powerful one. when you have reality built into the product. And there are two, if you think about Facebook and Skype, there are very classic type of reality. The product becomes more and more valuable the more people are using it. So first person who signed onto Skype was probably slightly easier sell than the first person who bought the telephone. I don't know how you do that. But then eventually as more and more people are using it, obviously it gets much easier. Then if you look at Spotify and Dropbox, they have two things going for them, because those kind of products, they have huge value in and of themselves. You can get great value out of it even if nobody else is using it. However, if other people are using it, the value to you and to them increases.